Well, hello there, magic people of the internets. It is a little bit of Love Beer Radio. Yeah,
Real,
late Monday
real
Love Beer
late.
Radio. Yeah, we usually do the daytime thing, but I am moving. Well, I moved, but I'm still moving shit, and I've been busting my ass for 2 days straight. Joe helped me out yesterday, so big kudos to him. And finally got my shit situated enough to where I can actually like hook up to the internet and do something. So yeah, here we are. So yeah, what's going on? What's up, Joe?
Not too much. I was just kind of chilling, playing Dark Souls 2. So I've been doing that most of the day. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
not much else. Uh, yeah. How's the rest of the moving? Like, how far are you from being done?
Done? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like done.
a month away, maybe. Like I mean, I like all the big stuff is here, except for I forgot a
Mhm.
couple things like my dog crates and my barbecue and shit like that. But that's easy enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I like the house. I mean, it was this place is barely walkable. You know what I mean? Last night and right now, I can actually sit down in two different couches, and shit's kind of get itself together. So just kind of chugging along, getting shit done, and we still got a lot of stuff to do. I have tomorrow off too, so I'll
That's nice.
situate.
At least you have like a couple of days to
Yeah,
really get shit situated.
yeah, I'll get shit situated, and then go from there. You know what I mean? I want to get shit livable. You know what I mean? First,
Yeah.
and then actually start living. So it is what it is. Um, let's see. I don't know what I was going to talk about. What's new? What do you got? You got any beer newsy shit or anything like that? Or
Um, this past Saturday, I was at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, which was
Hmm,
actually a really good time.
I forgot you went
Uh,
to that.
yeah, I was there. Like, I did it. Feel like We did it right. We like went there. We got there like maybe a half an hour after the gates opened, and then didn't leave until like 40 minutes before they closed down. So like we just kind of walked around all day, and the beers that they have are from Swashbuckler Brewing Company,
Okay.
which is like a little brewery that's like kind of on the grounds of the because there's like it's on the kind of the grounds of like a winery. It's the Mount Hope Winery that that kind of does this whole. They do a bunch of different fairs and stuff. Um, but the beers come from Swashbuckler, and it was actually their IPA was the first IPA that I ever had,
Really?
and yes, and I did not like it. Then it was like it was kind of like the what the fuck am I drinking kind of deal. And then I go back to it on Sunday and got wrangled into a drinking game by two guys that run this like little ride thing. And I'm pretty sure that this drinking game is just how these two fuckers amuse themselves all goddamn day
Okay.
by by wrangling drunkards over and charging them $3 to spill beer all over themselves.
Okay.
Because
Fair enough.
what you do is they get you into, they call it the crow's nest. It's apparently there's pirate like I it's the most confusing Renaissance thing ever. Like there's your typical like old timey English things, but then there's pirates for some friggin' reason.
Okay.
I don't get it. So there's like every now and again it's like old like period English costumes and like Spanish armor or like French stuff, and then a pirate. Like not even like period of a pirate, like just a like stereotype Hollywood pirate
Yeah.
of like a dude in like a fucking vest and pants. But it was really weird. So they get you into this like crow's nest thing. They spin you up, and then their drinking game is you have to finish your beer before you get down the first time. Uh, I won, and got beer all over me. then finished Amanda's beer as well, which really impressed the two guys that were running it.
They didn't know who they were fucking with, basically.
Clearly
Yeah.
they did not. So then I got to walk around smelling like beer for the rest of the day, which is not bad. I mean, I should probably get used to that because I'm going to be working in breweries for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Eventually,
you don't smell like beer all the time anyway. Now, no,
I know, right? Like I should get used to beer just everywhere, all of the time. But it was a lot of fun. If you're in and around Pennsylvania, definitely make the trip out there.
Nice.
It's a really cool day.
Yeah, how far away from us was it?
About 2 hours.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No. It's like middle of friggin' nowhere, Pennsylvania.
So it's in Pennsylvania.
Yes, middle of fucking nowhere.
Well, pretty much everywhere in Pennsylvania is in the middle of nowhere, except for like 2 or 3 places.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Anything else? Newsy or
Nothing.
newsworthy?
Did I fucking screenshot anything today? I don't know. I don't think I did. Usually if I see shit, I screenshot it. Nope, that was from last week. Nope. Well, we had the bottle. We had the bottle share at my house last week after the show.
Yeah, that's right. That's newsworthy. Yeah, it was just me, you, and Hater Brad.
Yes, and Amanda as well.
Amanda and Mandy, even though Mandy
and Mandy.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good beers. One you didn't like, pretty much, or
Yes.
2 technically if you were to go with the turned homebrew.
This guy, I have it right here. This was the one that I did not like.
Which I do like. It basically what Joe's holding up is, it says it's an English barley wine. If anything, it's an old ale, but basically what it is, it's brewed with champagne yeast, so you get this like huge tartness out of it. I think it's supposed to be there. I don't think it was bad.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Is it brewed with champagne yeast?
Yeah, I told you that like 3 times that night.
No. Oh, yeah. I actually don't remember you telling me that at all.
Yeah, and that's where I think that tartness comes from, that
Probably.
champagne yeast. So it worked for me.
I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, but I liked it. What was the winner of the night?
Probably the
Sukaba.
probably Sukaba or the
Hardy.
Thomas Hardy that's
Hardy,
now up on the bar.
Center stage.
Oh yeah, I love post bottle share nights because I then rework the bottles that are behind the bar and I figure out what can come down and what goes back up.
Yeah. Trying to think, news wise. Oh well, I mean, for us, Pennsylvania, New Belgium. I mean, that happened today. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the New Belgium release. There's no love lost between me and New Belgium, but it is what it is. I saw it. Went to Wegmans today. Saw it displayed everywhere. I actually bought some bottles because I was like, hey, gotta try them. So I actually bought. I'd never had it before. They have a double IPA. I'm not sure what it's called.
Ranger.
No, that's their base IPA. I don't think that's their double. It's a bomber. It came in a bomber, not a 6.
Yeah.
And it was a bomber, and it was a double IPA. I think it was between 7% and 9%. $3.99.
That does not suck.
That doesn't suck. So I hope it's awesome because then that's great. Yeah. But we'll see. So that's news. Oh. Here's a little bit of fucking tidbit of information. I don't know if I told you this yesterday. So, a friend of mine texted me a picture the other day. My buddy Wade texted me a picture. And I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to hold it up to the screen. See what you have.
Was this the picture that you sent me then?
Of what?
His cellar?
No.
Okay then.
No. This is gonna blow your titties off. If I can actually find it. Where the hell is it? Oh, you know what? He Facebooked it to me. That's why I can't find it. So I'm sitting there the other day, and like I said, like I get a Facebook message from my buddy Wade, and he's like, sends me a picture, and it's only a picture, and this is a picture. It's a picture of Thomas Hardy Ale.
Okay.
You can see it. Okay.
Yeah, I could kind of. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't see it on the screen because guess what year it is?
Okay. Let's see if we can narrow this down. Before or after 1985?
After.
1975.
You said
I'm
85,
guessing.
and I said after.
I meant
after, I mean newer.
Oh, newer? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. 1990.
Nope. 2 more guesses.
Okay. Before or after 1990?
After.
After. Okay. 1992.
No.
1993.
One more guess. Wrong.
93.
2014. It is a test batch of the new Thomas Hardy that's coming out.
Really?
Yes. It's not he didn't have it. It was someone in his circle, a friend. He saw the picture through that party, and he sent it to me. So there's a new company. There's like a kind of like a smaller AB InBev-ish type company out in Europe that buys distribution rights and breweries, and they're like a small version of that kind of business. Instead of being just a brewery, they just have a bunch of breweries under their umbrella. I forget the name of the company. And they bought the recipe to Thomas Hardy Ale in 2011, I believe. And I've kept up on it, and I saw that they're doing test batches, but the first one they dumped, and they've been dialing in, but I've never actually seen one in the wild. And they're bringing it back, and I knew they were bringing it back, but I didn't know when. And that's the first test batch I've seen in the wild. You know what I mean? So, wow. Thomas, that's big. That's actually huge fucking news. You know what I mean? It's
actually really big news.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to get a ton of it. I'm gonna write them. I'm gonna write the company, and I'm gonna tell them. If they're sending out test batches, the reason why breweries send out test batches is because they want feedback from the outside source. Because when you're a brewer, sometimes you can get a little bit myopic about your own product, so you really do need to test batch shit out to people outside of the brewery because you get blinders.
Absolutely. I mean, I do subscribe to the I'm my own worst critic theory, but if I think something's really, really good, I also want now a second opinion.
Yeah.
About that.
So they're test batching out to people, and if you test batch out to people, you want to test batch it out to people who've bringing that beer back. You want to test batch it out to people who know what the fuck Thomas Hardy is. I think I qualify for that, so I'm gonna.
I definitely think you do.
I'm gonna write them, and I'm gonna be like, listen, man, I've been drinking Hardy for almost 20 years. I have vintages all over the place. I'm like, I would love to test it out because I think I'm the key. I think I'd be exactly who they're looking for. So hopefully that works.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Nice.
But yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all I got news wise.
Before I actually forget, I have like a little more personal beer news of myself. I'm doing my first beer trade. Homebrew for some local California stuff.
Nice.
The guys Hop Society on Instagram commented on my picture of me bottling the other day. So I was bottling, speaking of Thomas Hardy, I was bottling my Thomas Hardy clone, if you will, to my own malt bill, and just the super high gravity yeast from White Labs, which is supposedly a similar yeast strain that they use for Thomas Hardy.
And that's the thing; it's not necessarily a clone. It's like the yeast is what you feel is Thomas Hardy yeast, and he kind of made your own malt bill up. So
yeah, I made my own malt bill. I have my own hopping. It's clone in the loosest sense of the word because I really don't like to clone beers. I want to clone like I don't know. I want to like I don't really like saying I don't really like cloning different beers. I want to come up with something myself.
yes,
Not saying that cloning beers are a bad thing. I think that's actually if I were a brewer, well, if someone wanted to clone one of my beers, I would actually look at that fairly highly and be like, oh, well, I guess I did something right. But anyway, Hop Society, his name's Ed, saw my picture and commented on it and was like, I would love to buy one of those. I'm like, instead of buying one of my beers, I'm like, how about we trade for it? I'm like, are you a home brewer? So he said, yeah, he doesn't really have any homebrew. So he got me some local stuff from California. Should be in on Thursday, hopefully.
yeah, hopefully that way we could drink it before you leave.
Yeah. I didn't ask him what the beers themselves were, so I have no idea what these beers are. I only know the breweries that he's sending out to me, which are Hangar 24, which I've heard of before, and I think I might have had.
You did. You had the Barrel Wolf, no, I think 3 at the bottle share that we were at. Yeah. The Christmas one.
And then also Barley Forge, which I've never heard of before. And I did a little research on them, and they're actually kind of they'd be kind of right up your alley, Matt. They're more of a Belgian inspired brewery, nice. So they do like Belgian darks and wit beers and all that kind of stuff, but like out in California. So
beautiful.
So yeah. I got a couple of them coming in. Then I have to. I'm gonna once those come in, I'm gonna box up some home brews and send it out to them.
No, you said did you bottle up the second?
Not yet. I was gonna do that today, and then
Dark Souls happened.
Then Dark Souls 2 happened, and those bosses don't beat themselves.
No, they don't.
Mm-hmm. So that'll probably be tomorrow, unless more Dark Souls 2 happens. No, it's got to be done. I want to get it done tomorrow.
So yeah. I'm just like dreaming of Hardy all day long now since I saw that. I'm really blown away. I didn't mention it yesterday because I was just wanted to tell everybody about it, but then again I was a little bit preoccupied. So
yeah, it was a pretty hectic time. You were doing a little running around, to say the least.
Yeah, just a little bit. So yeah, let's dive into the show itself. What are we doing? I mean, usually I say that first. Give the rundown to the whole 0 viewers we have. The
whole 2, not even 2 people. It's 0. Is it really?
It says 0. Honestly, I don't think it's 0 though because we've had a couple comments already. I don't know who they are, but yeah, one guy's like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to watch, but I think the ticker's wrong. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the whole beer versus wine thing, and if we did, it would have been interesting to have someone from a wine perspective come on, but whatever. So we'll be talking kind of like how people view each side, and then kind of how each thing has been viewed throughout history. Then we're going to be reviewing. We're actually going to be reviewing a Breaker beer. I have their growler sitting next to me. This is the wet hop version of their I Heart PA. I think when they were on the show, they mentioned doing a wet hop beer.
Yeah.
So this is that beer. And then we're going to be wrapping up the show, kind of talking about if there is a beer style that can challenge wine, so to speak, and really like push beer kind of more into people's minds a little bit more. What's out? Do we think that would be? And then like kind of like smaller, more BS topics, food pairings and all that kind that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, so kick it off, baby.
So, I think craft beer is kind of making a better name for beer itself. And I feel like I always have to distinguish, the fact that you don't necessarily like saying craft beer, but the name has its uses.
Yeah, of course.
The whole whatever kind of beer that someone likes is good beer to them, and we can't really just say that kind of one beer is better than another. But anyway, I think craft beer is definitely helping to kind of make people think that wine is always been looked at as that kind of like more sophisticated kind of drink, but all of these different styles, I'm drinking right now. I'm drinking Bell's. This one goes to 11. For a 2-year-old beer, it's not too bad. I'm probably going to let the other bottle that I have age for a little while and see what the hell happens. But, which is my response to everything. I don't know why I have to say it all of the time. I should just have a little tack on here. Will age for more time just to see what happens. If you can make one of those watermarks for me, that would be just awesome. But anyway, I think kind of beers like this that are a little bit bigger and you can kind of take your time with and sip and actually taste, I think that can, if someone who is who only thinks that beer is, your light lagers, I think that can kind of open them up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think restaurants having better beers, like a better beer selection, not necessarily better beers. A better beer selection is kind of another thing to get people to really think that beer is different now.
Yeah. Let me think. The whole wine and beer thing is weird for me. Because it's a weird thing. Because how do I put it? Well, let's first off, let's talk about it. How do you feel about wine? Do you drink wine in your regular life? What do you do?
Right now,
I know the answer to this. I'm just playing like I don't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Typically, no. There is right now only one wine out there that I would put on my shelf, or however the frig you age wine, I would fucking hoard. It's this Hungarian wine, and they make it with, I think I talked about it on a previous episode. Don't remember which one, but the grapes are infected or affected with this particular fungus. I think the Dogfish Head's Noble Rot, I think it was made with grape must that had the same fungus. It's called botrytis. It's made with botrytis affected grapes, and it has all of the like musty basement and old nuances and shit like that like older beers can get, that just kind of like damp basementy funk that's just I really like in beer. That carried over to wine, and that was the first wine that I ever sniffed and was like, I'm gonna really like this. Before that, I'm like, I am 100% ignorant to wine. I don't make it. The reason I don't make it is because I don't really drink it. So for me, it wouldn't be something that I'd be interested in making or even expelling more of my ignorance to. If I want to learn about something, I want to drink it, and I don't want a bunch of bottles that are gonna. I do this with beer anyway. I don't want even more bottles that I'm gonna sit on forever, and then probably never drink. You know.
No, I get it. I totally do.
Now, what about you? How do you feel about wine?
Honestly, I just I've tried so hard. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not a wine guy. And I've tried a ton to get into wine. It's been a while though, so I'm gonna revisit it. I'm gonna try again because it has been several years. But I really, really, really did try to get into wine. Like I mean. I was already into beer and I liked beer. And I tried to get into wine and I tried everything from $4 fucking shit wine to I think I tasted like maybe like a couple $1,000 bottle of wine and everything in between. And there's really not much there for me, honestly. I mean, and I've tried. It's not like I've actively avoided it or I don't like it or I don't want to. I'd love to like wine. It just hasn't done anything for me. I've tried and tried and tried. But like I said, it's been a while. Actually, the last time I had wine, I enjoyed it, but it was homemade wine and it was like kind of like very fruity and very sweet. There wasn't much dryness to it. So, and that's the thing for me. Like, if I were to break down what I don't like about beers, one would be overly dry West Coast IPAs.
Yeah.
And really kind of really over the top like acidic tannic sours. And to me, wine tastes like a really dry acidic tannic soury drink. So you're taking the two elements of beer, which I'm not a big fan of, and you're putting it into a drink. So what I do like wine, there are some wines I like. I like fucking plum wine, for Japanese plum wine. That's not fucking wine, though. That's like plum sugar juice. You know what I mean? Like I like like there's a couple wines I have liked, but they're not your atypical wines. So, but like I said, it's been a while since I've tried them, so I'm gonna revisit them. And it's a weird thing too. And I'm sure a lot of people like this, but for me in particular, like the flavors I like in specific things are kind of like, I don't know how to put it. Like I'm weird. Like for example, I hate cherries. I do not like to eat cherries. I do not find them enjoyable. The favorite flavor of mine in anything, whether it be ice cream or juice or whatever, is cherry flavor. I love peaches. Peaches are probably my favorite fruit. Peach flavored stuff makes me nauseous. You know what I mean? So like
that's kind of like me and bananas. I don't like artificial. I don't like yeast derived banana flavors or artificial banana flavors. I do like bananas, the fruit.
Yeah,
they're fine.
So,
but I can't handle like banana Laffy Taffy. I'm like, get that shit out of this bag. I throw it across the room. I throw it at Amanda and my sister because they like them.
So that's the thing. Like, and the weird part is, I love wine barrel aged beer. Like, not so much
good wine barrel aged beers, and
like white wine, not so much. But when you start to get a little bit more robust red stuff like that, I really love wine barrel aged beer. I drank that Heavy Seas, that Cabernet barrel aged barley wine last night, and that was just blew my fucking. It was way better than the one that we had and we reviewed.
Really?
Oh yeah, wow. It was the best wine barrel aged beer I've ever had, and like it's weird that it's like that's how it is. Like some I dig, some I don't. So it's a weird flavor thing. Like I said, with wine in general, I'm gonna really put in like the old college try to get into it a little bit more again, but. I mean, that's just me kind of like doing a little bit. I wanted everybody to know where we stand on wine to begin with, because if you're going to talk about something,
if we're going to talk about it,
give a little bit of background. Now, as far as what I feel about wine, wine's a weird thing. And again, people will argue this, but I don't think it's an arguable fact. And when I say fact, I mean actual fact, not opinion. wine, beer is infinitely more complex than wine.
Absolutely, I would
infinitely. I'm not saying wine can't be complex, but if you're talking about, I mean, wine is more than just red and white. There's more to it than that. There's different grapes and different flavors and different subsections, but the world of beer is infinitely huge. You know what I mean? You can make a beer that tastes like wine, or you can make a beer that tastes like a bread. You know what I mean? Like there's not a wine that tastes like beer or bread. You know what I mean? Like it can denote flavors of like that, but not as wide. It doesn't run a gamut like that. So the thing with beer, there is so much more to be offered, and there's so much more stuff. And that's like the thing that I kind of say, like people always say, oh, there's always a beer for somebody. And I honestly believe that. And I do believe that with wine too, but besides well, you found one that you liked. So there is a wine for everybody.
I found one. I had so many other friggin' wines.
But I said there's a wine for that everybody, not 9,000 wines.
Singular. Yeah. I tried so many others, and I thought there were some reds that I didn't mind. I didn't mind the dryness. What really got me onto red wines and what kind of piqued my interest was the aging factor and being able to age them. But then I tried this one, and I'm like, done. Fuck those guys. This is it. This is the only wine that I need. If I'm going to buy wine, I'm going to seek this shit out. Can't find it that I'm not having wine. And
I still want to try that wine because, after you told me about it, you're like, I'd like it too.
Find some, and we'll
have it. But so, when it comes to the whole wine versus beer thing, I always say that it's beer's infinitely more complex. But the problem is that up until probably pretty recently, most people didn't think of beer on the level of wine, and to the point where
that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
It was
the fucking YouTube app updated, and now I can't find comments on here.
Oh no, there are G plus comments, not YouTube comments.
I know, but still, I like looking at and seeing if there's any comments when we're.
But what I'm saying is their G plus comments means they're not going to show up on the YouTube. On YouTube, they're going to show up in G plus. Anyway, whatchamacallit, but so it got to the point where wine was even wine people were very it was almost like if you liked beer, it was automatically you're kind of like a peasant, or there was this very air of superiority around it. And the weirdest part is that beer's getting to that point now in a really shitty way, where there's this huge snobbery about beer within the beer community, not from actual people flipping the script from wine.
It's not even from an outside force; it's from within.
Yeah,
there's so much beer, bullshit now.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's weird. It's weird to say because it's kind of an oxymoron. I think beer should be treated as it should be highly regarded as wine, but I don't think it should have a pomp and circumstance about it. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so either.
And that's the thing with wine. It wasn't so much that it was respected. I respect wine, even though I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not going to tell somebody, fuck you, you like wine. But it's just not for me, or the ones that I've had. But there's always been this very kind of pomp to wine, to where it was almost like a almost, I don't want to say regal thing about it, but a pseudo regal pomp and circumstance to it, to where beer has always been.
Well, there kind of always was that. If you go way back to ancient eras, wine was kind of reserved for people who had money.
Yeah,
beer was communal. If you see any ancient drawing, carvings or anything like that, you'll see depictions of a gigantic pot and people sitting around it with straws, and they're most likely drinking beer. And then you see another drawing of a person sitting by themselves with another servant and a pitcher, and most likely they're drinking wine. On a side note, if you have any Tommyknocker Legend, try it.
I drank them all. You
drank them all? Well, I have some more, so you can.
Because I wanted to see at least one to review later, but I just drank them all.
It's really good.
But there was that whole like kind of like elitism about it, and with like you were saying, like with beer's been always more not, and that's the thing. I don't want to say it's more of like the common man shit, because it should be respected on the same level, but it was almost like it was almost treated like, especially it was never treated that low outside of the United States. Like beer, like in Europe, in Belgium and places like that.
I'm gonna go a little history.
Okay.
Nerdy on you, just from class, and I'm not citing any sources outside of my history of brewing class. So if you want to fact check me, none of you that are watching or 50 of you that will watch post live stream, right around when we started seeing the temperance movement spout up in like the late 1800s to the early 1900s, that's when we really started. They really started battling They really started battling beer, because in those days, like Anheuser-Busch and Coors and Miller, Schlitz, all of those kind of bigger breweries at the time, they owned the saloons that you had big breweries, and you had like what we would consider today to be micro or nano breweries, and they were just breweries that were in a tavern. So what Anheuser-Busch would do, they would come in, they would help you out as the tavern owner and be like, we'll like they went even as far as to like pay rent on the building for the person that owned the building, in exchange for you are selling Anheuser-Busch, you are selling Budweiser now. So you had bars that were exclusive, like the beer in those bars were Budweiser, or they were Coors, or it was Miller or Schlitz, or what have you, and they started pinning beer in with hard liquor. Hard liquor has never had a good public image. There's like the sophistication of Scotch and bourbons and all that kind of stuff, but across the board, it's never really been looked at as a high in a good light, so to speak. So when they started pinning beer to saloons and drunkenness, that's when we started seeing beer kind of being taken down a peg, as far as public image. It was a part of daily life for a long time, especially before we knew about water treatment. You drank beer because it was boiled and therefore free of any kind of
Asbesto is making a guest appearance. And then you had like beer kind of getting to the point where are utilitarian. Like there's a lot of countries that drink. There's a lot of countries, America included, the whole of Asia. I know India. I mean, everywhere. I mean, that part of the country, like Asia, China drinks more beer than any country. Like America, everybody's like America drinks more beer. No, Asia, like the amount of people that drink their beer there is insane, and it's not because they like beer; it's because they want to get the fucking drunk. So then it got to the point where like you had your American adjunct, whatever you want to call them, macro, fucking whatever, companies that just started making beer for drunk purpose. It was like your Coors Light, your Miller Lite, whatever. Well, it's quantity over quality. It's
that's it. It's making beer for profit.
Well, not just for profit, because there is a very large section of beer drinkers that just drink to get drunk, and that's like it's not. There's a lot of people I know. Like when people make fun of like high end beer, a lot of those people are being fun of it because they don't drink because they like what it tastes. They like the end game. You know what I mean? So like, and I'm not going to say I don't like getting drunk. Like I do, you know, alcohol,
it's a natural occurrence.
Yeah,
I find.
I'd rather not get drunk. I wish there was a pill that made me undrunk. I would buy that in droves. But nothing wrong with being a bit tipsy, and getting shitty happens every now and then. The liquid matters, but to me, but a lot of people it doesn't, and that's why Miller or Coors or Bud is it's not even close. Like when people are even talking like craft beer is making a dent in that, but it's not even fucking close. It's like a very small dent.
It's like a dent in this. Like I just made a small dent in this bottle cap that you can't even see. Like that's the dent that craft beer is making. Even if you look at like Sam Adams, they're less than 1%. As of a couple of years ago, they're less than 1% of the beer market.
Yeah.
But in the craft beer world, they're like 75%. Like they're so friggin' big. Like we now have that. There's that distinction now between the big craft breweries that you can think of off the top of your head, which are your New Belgium, Stone, Sierra Nevada, Boston Beer Company, Dogfish Head, all of them. They're fairly big craft breweries. In the grand scheme of beer, they're damn near microscopic,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but because we're talking
usually
about
happens anyway.
Oh yeah, that usually happens anyway. But as far as the wine thing goes, the point I was trying to make is that basically wine had this air of superiority around it, and then beer was kind of like the beneath that, and it's definitely getting to the point where it's the same thing. It's macro versus micro. It's getting close to being. It is, in my mind, it should be respected equally. It's getting to the point where now it's getting kind of, it's being viewed as equal, but still you don't see a $1 million bottle of beer floating around out there. Do you know what I mean? There's $1 million bottles of wine. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. Like it is, but it isn't. It's you have your $5,000. What is it? Hair of the dog, whatever the fucking Fred or Adam or what, I don't know which one it's called.
Hair of the dog, something or other.
That's like $5,000.
Is it $5,000? Because the last time I saw it was like $2,000
or something like that. Anyway, we're talking about basically like a nice bottle of wine in a bistro in New York is $5,000. Do you know what I mean? Like like the most expensive beer on the earth is $5,000. There's still a gap, but it is getting some play and some publicity, and there's definite crossover there. There's a lot of people I know who like wine that when you give them the right kind of sour, they're kind of like, ooh, what the fuck what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? Like there is there's a bridge there. There's to get into wine the same way you can go from beer to wine the same way, but so I think it's making up some kind of ground perceptionally, and I keep coming back to me saying for me, because to me beer is obviously reviews. I do this show, I do another, obviously I give a lot of shits about beers, so I'm not talking about me when it comes to respect.
I think both of us, I mean, we both do reviews. I am going to school for brewing. I homebrew. We do this show. We're like ingrained into beer.
Yeah. And then there's always there's two things, and I like saying this to the wine aficionado, because two things can't be argued with beer. And just to poke a little bit of fun, if you want to troll wine people, the first one, I just realized I'm wearing my shirt inside out. That's how tired I am.
Nice.
Yeah, at least the tags in the back. The first thing is what I just already said, which was, you cannot argue. It can't be argued that beer is more complex than wine. It actually can't be argued. Like if someone argues that, they can argue to the blue in their face. It can't be argued. Two, the whole world owes their lives to beer, because without beer, that's why civilization existed.
Yes.
The early man traveled and communed and farmed and cultivated to make beer. So without beer, modern civilization wouldn't exist.
There's actually a debate onto whether civilizations were started over the making of beer or the making of bread. And I am actually on the favor of them making civilizations in order to make beer.
Listen.
As opposed to making bread.
Listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We as humans have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Into a multiple different ways. But the one thing that which hasn't evolved out of us that still exists is visceral emotional reaction. You know, when you fall in love, when you are cornered and you have to defend yourself, you basically hearken back to a primitive instinct, because that's why we are around, because we were built in a great way. You know what I mean? Like, so let's break it down this way. This is how you cure that argument. Is it bread or is it beer? When's the last time you fucking drove 3 hours? How many YouTube podcasts do you see about bread? How many? Do you know what I mean? Like how many people wait? Unless you're in Russia or South America, how many people wait in line 9 hours for a loaf of fucking bread? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna guess. You know what I mean? That the people were more enthusiastic about the beer than fucking bread. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what I am agreeing with you on that, and I'm on the side of that fence that says people started actual towns and civilizations for beer.
But that's what I'm saying. How is that even a debate? Like, they're like, oh, it could be bread it could be.
It's for the grains that you were using.
Oh, no. I get why the debate is there, because they know that they're cultivating these grains, and some people have been like, well, it was for beer, and people could be bread, but then break it down to who gives a fuck about bread that much?
A lot of the grains that you can just, when we were hunter-gatherers, a lot of the stuff that you can just pick up and eat, that was fine. Like, they tossed barley aside because it was hard as a fucking rock, and you couldn't eat it. And then they tried it after places had flooded, and it started to malt. And then that's beer now. So I think you could make fucking bread anywhere at any time. Like, you didn't have to settle down for the sole purpose of making bread. You kind of had to settle down and be like, we're going to try to make this shit now at this area. Let's like make some houses and stuff to not travel around anymore. So
there you go.
If the ancient world were populated by hipsters.
So yeah, I mean, as far as history goes, you had that, we all exist because of beer. And then, beer kind of has always been around. I mean, even when one of the first things people made when they settled in the United States was beer. You know what I mean? Their version of beer. It wasn't. And we're using the term loosely because
the Pilgrims landed where they did because the beer ran out. They were out of beer.
Yeah.
People made spruce beer to ward off scurvy because of the vitamin C in spruce tips. Yeah.
So it's like it's a weird thing because it's so intertwined throughout history, in a more, like you said perfectly, a communal way, and it almost intertwined with throughout life. A lot of whether it be the English or American, even back in the day, like when America first started, I think one of the first was it George Washington? It might have been. I'm not sure who actually made it. So you got a quarter beer a day if you're in the army or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
and beer and like liquor and like just alcohol rations were a very common thing in armies for like
So it's
military of that.
yeah,
Like throughout history until like now they don't have alcohol rations. I don't know when they stopped that, but it was a common thing back in the day.
yeah. And then like, but the whole time, like you said, wine has always been like, it was never a ration thing or a thing. It was always something that you had to be affluent, or it was a pastime. It was a fun thing to do, like a
like
but
everyone drank beer. Not everyone drank wine.
unless you're Italian.
Unless you're Italian.
In Spanish.
Yeah. That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like,
and maybe French.
Yeah. Well, champagne bastards. No, but yeah, I mean, like that's a small
broad statements here. Broad statements.
Yeah. So it's, but the thing is, when you start getting into your whole your German or your Belgian, your monk level shit, where they're making like next level shit. You know what I mean? Like your Belgian ales, your big, bold, huge beers. Then you start seeing this beer become more of something other than utilitarian. Do you know what I mean? I guess you could say.
Fun little story on, I think it was Doppelbox.
I'm going to skip off. I can hear you. I'm just going to walk over there for a second.
All right, cool. The reason that they monks started drinking Doppelbox for Lent was they sent casks back to the Pope, but pretty much asking permission to drink this beer during the Lenten period. The only problem was that when the beer reached the Pope, it had turned off. It went sour and was just foul. So the Pope tried it and was like, "This is fucking punishment enough. If you guys want to drink this, knock yourselves out." So that's how they got to drink Doppelbox during Lent, because the Pope got some shit beer and was like, "Fuck it, yeah, go knock yourselves out."
See, I didn't know that. I thought the whole Doppelbock monk thing was they couldn't eat during Lent, so they made the heftiest, deepest, darkest beer they could, so they had something.
And that was the thing. That's why they made it, but they still wanted permission to do this, so they sent casks to the Pope, and it turned foul when it got there. So
I gotcha. So yeah, then you start getting I apologize for my disjointed thought process and verbalization on this episode, because I'm so tired. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
That's not a usual thing. Like we're not. That's kind of.
I'm usually a little more succinct than I am tonight.
We're a fairly disjointed podcast. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, true. So then you come out of that, and then now it's getting to the point, and this is pretty much what I touched on in the beginning. Beer's getting to the point now where it's starting to get so fucking. It's overcompensating for importance. You know what I mean? There's so many people that are going out of their way to be like the most important thing. Like there's I don't know how to say it. It's just
for example, I was catching up on Brewdogs, and for those of you who don't know, the show Brewdogs is a show on, I think it's on Esquire.
Yeah, it is.
But it follows James Watt and Martin Dickey, the founders of Brewdog Brewing in Scotland, and they go around to different places and they kind of look at the local beer scene, and they'll talk about like the brewing in that area, and they'll talk about like beer bars and best breweries, and then they'll brew a beer for whatever area they're in. For example, they were in Louisville, and they made a beer that tasted like a mint julep, apparently.
Yeah, I remember that. In Kentucky.
Then
because it was tied in with the Kentucky Derby, because they drink mint juleps.
The Kentucky Derby. They went to the person that supplies the mint for all of the mint juleps in the Kentucky Derby. They went to that guy. But the point that I'm getting at is they did an episode in Berlin, and the people that they they always like for a crazier area they'll like stop people on the streets and they'll talk to them about beer, and people talked about beer in America, and they basically made the comment that American beer is like having sex in a canoe. It's fucking close. It's pretty fucking it's fucking pretty close to water, you know. And I instantly was like, "Well, you guys don't know about American beer," like, and then I stopped myself and like, "Well, yeah, they don't know about American beer because all they fucking see, for the most part, is Budweiser." Granted, they went into a couple of bars. When they laid out their top 5 bars, a lot of some of the bars did have American imports. Like apparently, you could get Hop Devil in Berlin.
That's funny.
Who knew? So like there are American beers that get over there, but for the most part, the general populace that sees Budweiser and they see Coors and they see Miller. So I'm like, I can't blame you for only knowing those beers or like making that comment on American beer.
Yeah, but I honestly, I never give too much credence to Germany. I mean, you know, Germany is like, how do I put it this way? When it comes to beer, Germany is like they're like the person. Okay, let's put it this way. The Masters is a golf tournament, okay, and like if you like, there's been people who won the Masters who were like came out of nowhere, just had the best round of golf in their life, and then they won the Masters. There's been a couple, and then they flamed out and they've sucked ever since. But if you win the Masters, you always have an invitation to play in the Masters every year. So let's say like 10 years later and you can't even literally walk or do whatever, you can still play in the Masters.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I feel about Germany. Like they had their moment. They produced some beer that was a little bit better than what most people brewed. But with the whole Reinheitsgebot thing for so many years, they are so far behind. The thing
about that, it was really like Bavaria was really the only region for the longest time that was even enforced. I could be completely wrong,
but here's the thing:
but everyone else followed suit after a while. But that was the reason Bavaria came into the whole like German Union back in the day.
But with that whole flavor profile from just using bases like that, it was what people expected, so that's what people produced. So you got nice, clean beers, but a lot of them lack inspiration. You know what I mean? And
I think they're getting better. Like if you watch that,
they are.
Like there's some interesting breweries that are popping up now, but
let's put it this way: when I think of all the places I'd want to visit for beer, stripping just an Oktoberfest experience out of it, just to get that under my belt, Germany would not be it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I mean, how many? Name me German breweries you love.
Kostritzer.
And
that was only a couple of months ago that I found them. You know,
I mean,
I would go to Germany for Kolsch. You know, because that's personally my.
But would you travel? You traveling a craft way across the globe for a Kolsch is like someone traveling halfway across the fucking globe for a loaf of bread.
I would travel to Germany to see like Weißstefaner and those breweries.
Oh,
you know, like breweries that have been.
No. That's not what I'm asking. I would love to experience that.
Beer? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, because I would love to go to Oktoberfest just to do that, and then just be like, okay, you know, that's like your 8 wonders of the world. That's like one of your you in your beer life. You should go experience.
Yeah, I would much like for a beer experience. I would much rather do Belgium. You know?
Oh yeah, I like. There was this group. I don't know if I mentioned it before. I forget who it is. I think it's I forget the name of them. They run beer tours Did I tell you about the beer tour thing in Netherlands and Belgium?
No.
Okay. There's this group company. I forget the name of their called. It's moot. But there was a contest. You could win a trip, and I entered it, and I didn't win.
Son of a bitch. Trying to move my back to like.
Did it break?
No, it didn't break.
The funniest part is when it fell exactly to where we could see you in your reaction. So go back and watch this when it's over because it's pretty funny.
I probably will.
Like when you reach down to grab it, it's like literally your face is in the center of the screen the whole time. Like it's like pretty awesome. Anyway, there's this tour group that they do tours, beer tours all over the world. And there was one they held a contest for, and to me, if I can ever do it, I'm going to do it, even if I have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. It is the best beer tour concept I've ever heard in my fucking life. What it is you fly to the Netherlands, okay?
Yeah.
And then the first day, 2 days, you tour Netherlands breweries, okay? And then what you do is you get in a fucking barge that is basically a hotel in a barge, and you lazily float down a river, and every day you stop at a port. You go to De Molen, you go to fucking West Wiedelen. Wow. It just follows this river that floats down, and then you end up in Bruges. You know what I mean? Like you go to Antwerp, you hit all the heavy spots because all the best breweries are along that river because back in the day they had, that's how you got around. That's how you got around. So you basically are in this floating barge. So basically, instead of being shuttled around in a bus or traveling, you literally go enjoy a beautiful day of beer at a brewery and do whatever you want to do. And then you go and hang out with people and drink and bottle share, and you go to sleep and you wake up, you're in another fucking city with great beer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how awesome is that?
That's amazing.
And honestly, the trip doesn't include airfare, but I'm pretty sure the trip is $3,000 and it's 10 days. And I think that's a fucking bargain.
Yeah, for all that you're describing, that is.
Yeah, I'll send you the link when I'm off of this. It's like, I think it's like 10 days long. You have 2 or 3 days in the beginning, 2 or 3 days at the end in one town, and then a bunch of different places. You go to Wiedelen, you go to La Trappe, you go to De Molen, you go to like a ton of great places, and it just, I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it eventually. I don't know how, but I'm gonna fucking do it. So. Anyway, what we're talking about? Wine and beer?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what are we talking about now? Because we're way off of what we're originally doing. I think we should just do one of these kind of like no topic episodes where we just start whatever pops into our head. We just run with it.
Yeah, like we're doing right now. Yes. So you want to do a review? You want to do that?
Let's review something.
So we're going to be reviewing Breaker.
Before I break everything in the bar.
Do you have the name of this one?
Do I have the name?
The actual name of this.
It's I Heart PA. Or I Love PA.
It's a wet hopped I Heart.
Wet hopped
I Heart PA from Breaker Brewing Company. If you didn't see it earlier, this is the growler. Me and Joe went there and picked it up. Awesome dudes, awesome brewery. They're expanding exponentially. They just added an outdoor patio. They're putting in a second.
Watch our interview with them.
Yes,
that we did a couple weeks back.
They're putting a second bar in with more taps. Great place. Really, really great food. Now, I mean, not that their food wasn't great before, but I mean, they've actually expanded their food menu quite a bit. And it's just one of those breweries, when you walk into a brewery and you talk to the people and you know what they're about, you know if what they're doing is right. I'm going to air quote right on that one. Yeah. If they're doing it the right way, and they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So I had a finger. It's a receded finger just off white head. Nice caramel.
I've got about a 2-finger head to mine.
Yeah, and I got the ye old Teku going on. It's pretty clear there's ever so slightest bit of particulate haze going on, but it's not.
Yeah, I have a little bit of haze in mine. Not
Yeah,
too bad though.
very subtle, and a very low carbonation. These are growlers, and they were filled 2 days ago, so take that with a grain of salt. So yeah, it's got a nose in this sucker. You can smell that fresh wet hop in there. It's almost like an oil. You can like if you rubbed out
it's very oily.
Yeah, if you rubbed out if you're picking hops and then you smell your finger, it's almost like that kind of vibe you're getting off of it.
Have you ever actually picked hops?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Have you?
I have. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's
Real
bright,
nice.
but there's a nice sweetness to it. But it doesn't have nice.
This is one of the beers that Breaker does that I say that I included the we know what X tastes like, and this is one of those beers we know, and by we I mean people who live around here. We know what I Heart PA tastes like. I've had bottles of this when it comes out. I've had it on tap at the brewery.
They bottle this?
One of my, very limited. This was a while ago. When they do their like bottling runs every so often, this was one of the beers. But I love this beer. This is probably one of my favorites that they put out.
Nice. So yeah, let's dive right in there, man. I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Finishing
this growler tonight.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, me too. A bit bigger malt base than I anticipated. A nice nuttiness to it, and almost like a biscuity malt. But at the same time, you get that nice wet hop, like that oiliness to it.
Yeah. Carbonation, which we could expect to be a little bit lessened because of the age on the growler.
But it has a nice mouthfeel to it. It's a little creamy.
Yeah,
a little bit of creaminess.
It does have a really nice mouthfeel. Yeah, really creamy mouth.
Finish as clean as a whistle. Yeah, this is what I want my session beers to be like.
Yeah. I'm starting to get a little bit of like an orange character. I'm getting orange a lot in hoppier beers now. We just did that Finch's barley wine the other night, and I got orange in that. So like for some reason orange is kind of like I'm fixated on that at present.
Yeah, I mean it's
but
it's
wow.
clean. That's kind of like the one thing about Breaker that I've experienced. You have much more exposure to them than I do, but the one thing I get from Breaker is some of their beers I'm not a big fan of, because there are a couple I'm like, nothing bad, but just didn't work for me. But there's been nothing I tasted that was wrong. That was made.
No. I've never had a beer from them that I went, ugh, something went wrong here. You know, they're really good.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really excited to see what their future holds, because they're very slow at expansion. It seems like they're kind of accelerating a little bit more now. I mean, they got the bigger brew house, so obviously they're looking towards the future. So I'm really excited to see them explode, because I honestly think once they bottle for production wise and put out like a base beer, like a flagship beer and some other beers, I think they're gonna fucking take off like fucking crazy. So
I honestly think you could toss this beer into a Tired Hands growler or, you know, fucking Hill Farmstead growler, and someone would go, oh, is this the new IPA from whatever brewery? You know?
Yeah.
And you could I
totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Just that well done. Yeah, this fucker's getting drank.
And it's always been like that. You know, everything that I've had, even from when they were just doing the little tasters in the brewery. You know, it's all been just so fucking good.
Nice. So rating wise, let's do that. I'm gonna rate this. I know you probably feel a little comfortable rating Breaker, but
no, I've rated some of their beers before. I've reviewed.
Oh, have you?
We did. Yeah, I did the sour cherry porter.
Okay.
With Chris.
Rating wise, the way it is now, with that 2 to 3 days, actually 3 days on the growler, actually.
Yeah, 3 days. We got it filled on Friday.
Yeah, I forgot. I'd give it an 80.
3 days and
80,
about like an hour.
89. That's what I would give it. And that's a great score. It doesn't get to 90 for me. It's just 89 overall.
Let's see, what would I...
Let's put it this way, and just to kind of echo your statement the other day, I reviewed Citra. I think it was this. It might have been Citra dry hopped or wet hopped Citra Hill Farmstead. I gave it an 89 too.
Nice. My bias of knowing those guys and really liking those guys and actually being able to pour for Breaker at a festival aside, I would probably go an A minus on this beer. I really love it. I think and you prefaced the 3 days on the growler already, but I'll reiterate that. I think super fresh growler would push it up into a higher range for me. I mean, you're already.
Oh, I know it
but
would.
Still,
because I had it. Yeah. I had it while I was there, and it was a bit more impactful. But it's still delicious.
Yeah, it's still such an easy drinking IPA, and I actually think. Let me do a quick Untapped check. I think this is like around 7% too. I don't think it's a low beer.
I took a picture of the menu. I'll bring it up. Well, both of us don't talk, and it makes for great radio.
Just really great as we both. I hope if anyone's watching this, they really like looking at the two of us.
Actually, I must have deleted it. I must have deleted it because I know I saved it, but I can't see it in my photos now. So keep looking.
Lunch pair. Okay, I got it. 7%. I was right.
Look at you. You win a prize. What prize? I do not know.
Whew, more of this beer.
There you go.
Is the prize I get. Yeah, for being a 7% beer and being this drinkable and not, it's a pretty balanced beer as well. Like there's nothing's really like, it's not overly dry. It's not extremely bitter. It's not too malt forward for an IPA. It's got a really nice balance to it. You know,
that nose is off the hook, man. Every time I sip it, I take a big whiff before I drink it.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so there you go. I did
best brewery in this area, I'd say.
Hands down, not even close. I'm going to say that. Not to shit on anybody else.
Not
really
to shit on anybody else.
Yeah, like exactly. Not actually. I shouldn't say that because I would shit on some people, but SBC.
As would I.
SBC actually does make some really nice beers. I like the rye IPA. Their new hop accelerator is not that bad. It's great, but that's a different kind of brewery.
Pils Noir was actually one of my was a favorite of mine for a little while.
What is it?
All right,
endless.
So
okay,
I'll be right back. Grasshopper.
Yeah,
fucking great.
Endless is very close. They're probably almost tied with Breaker for me. They make really great beers. And we're going very northeastern Pennsylvania centric right now, so I apologize. But Endless is from Montrose, PA. They make some amazing beers. They probably made my favorite beer to come out of this area. Their Burning Comet, which I just posted a review of. It's like a crazy barrel aged barley wine. They're great. Locally, Berwick's nice. I'm trying to think. I know I'm skipping somebody right now, which kind of sucks. But there's a bunch of people that make really good beers in this area. It's starting to not explode, but starting to grow. Starting to get a nice base of homegrown brewers. And it's pretty fucking exciting. So there you go. So when Joe gets back, we're going to come back in and kick off some more show-centric stuff because, I am getting tired, so I'm not long for this world. So there you go. So next topic we're going to do, we just covered that review. I'm not going to go the whole value and availability thing because they don't bottle much of their beers. So me and Joe next are going to dive back into the whole topic of wine and beer.
Are we?
Yeah, we're done. We're done with the whole review portion of the show. We're
done with fawning over Breaker for another podcast.
And then Joe has written down here a second topic, and this is verbatim what Joe sent me. It says, "What styles of beer can challenge wine?" And then after that, you have written food pairings and other smaller topics. I actually think I want to skip over that because I think food pairing should be actually a whole episode by itself.
I like that. I will write it into my topics list.
Because I think food pairing with beer is, even though it is written a lot of on bottles and talked about, I don't think a lot of people do it. And if you do it right, I think it actually can enhance the fuck out of beer. So yeah, I think that should be I think what that should be, though, I think that should be a review we actually do. We pick maybe 2 or 3 beers and pick 2 or 3 easily eaten foods and do it live. Like where instead of doing a review, we get like a couple of beers and drink them all separately while talking about them and drink them while eating food and pair them and see what kind of experience we get out of them. How about that for a fucking topic? I brought one topic, baby. One topic and one topic only.
Goddamn time. I'm going to start busting people right now. Let me go to my picture. I think your Over the Moon magazine, I believe, is the. Let me see. Yes, Over the Moon mag. I don't know what a sparkly pink heart has to do with my asking for topics for a podcast, but thank you for the comment. And also live, I would also like to thank the Brew God for giving us a topic as well. An actual topic.
That dude's awesome, man. That dude, yeah.
You're probably watching now. I don't know what you do when we're like on a normal day, but yeah. Thank you for submitting a topic. And if anyone else has an idea for what they'd like to hear us ramble on about for an hour and probably not talk about, please let me know.
Yeah. Or if you have any suggestions, because honestly, the whole topic based thing is going to be thrown aside because we're going to have to change the format because we're running out of topics. Anyway.
Yeah, that's why I ask people what they want us to talk about.
Yeah,
then you just like the status and not actually contribute, minus the Brew God and Ryan after I busted his balls.
Yes, I'm a horrible person. I understand. Anyway,
no, I'm teasing.
So yeah, I mean, as far as what style of beer can challenge wine, all of them. There, I'm done. All of them.
All of them.
All of them. Honestly, it's like
anything. If you had to pick right now, one style, and this I have to preface. In a couple months ago, when I was doing when I did my first mass, like, hey, doing this podcast, need shit to talk about kind of thing, I posted it to the Facebook page for my class in school. That's just other people. Sorry, I got a comment. Anyway, I asked like everyone in my class what suggestions they would have, and this came from my friend James, and his thing was, can sours challenge wine? So
what do you mean by challenge, though? That's what I mean.
I don't know, and that was kind of like, if there was
like when someone says when someone says what beer can challenge wine, to go sour to me is like saying what beer tastes most like wine. To me, when I hear when I hear what beer can challenge wine, my actual visceral response to that first reaction is, what beer, most complex beer I can think of to put up against a wine to show that it blows a wine out of the fucking water. Not necessarily, and that's the thing, to go, what beer can challenge wine and say sour is like I said, it's just like saying, okay, what beer is close enough to wine?
I'm kind of like, I kind of took it in a very broad perspective, and that's why I didn't specifically say can sours challenge wine. I said what beer style. But that was just the initial comment, and I liked it enough to toss it into the
and
topic list.
Let me say this, it's insanely subjective topic or a question, because if someone said, okay, what beer can challenge wine, and we're going to test that against an actual person, and the first question would be out of my mouth and be like, what does that person like to drink, and what is their favorite beverage style? If the person's like, the person only likes wine and wine only, then I'd go sour 100% of the time. But if somebody said they love beer and wine equally, then I might go outside the sour realm. Do you know what I mean? It's a very hard topic to nail down.
I think those people exist. They like wine and beer equally, but I think they're a very new occurrence. You know, I don't think there was always that kind of like, oh yeah, I'm really into beer, and then I'm also really into wine. I kind of feel like there was definitely a divide of people who I only drink beer, and then the I only drink wine people. You know,
it's almost like the how do you challenge wine with beer argument. If you're talking about it from a base stance, is almost like saying, how do you get a wine person into beer? Like the way your friend presented it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, what kind of beer would stand up to wine to where if I gave it to a wine person, they'd be into it? And it would be sour. That's what you would go with. So I actually don't have much to talk about that. You know what I mean? Honestly, it is what it is.
If you were to pick, you gave a broad statement of all of them. One style, sour's not included because we already talked about that. If you were to pick one style that you were to give to someone who liked wine and you were trying to get them into beer, what would it be?
To go overly specific, I'd go, honestly, wine barrel aged wheat wine. Like if I was going to I'd find some wine barrel aged wheat wine. Maybe aged with cherries or something. Do you know what I mean? Like if everyone's going to go overly, if I was to go base style, like base style sours excluded. I mean, not to kind of cheat, but maybe like a fucking Berliner Weiss or a Goza maybe at that point. I don't know. And pair it with an overly salty food so that kind of counterbalances the salt to where they get a little more tartness. I don't know.
what I would probably go some kind of aged beer, so like an aged barley wine or something like that, just to like.
See, I think that malt character and
more of
sweetness would just turn them off because wine is not sweet like that. Like a barley wine is sweet. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of sweetness. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of coming from the side of like, hey,
honestly,
beer can be aged too.
That fucking beer that you didn't like at the share that you showed off would be a perfect fucking beer. I think I would give a wine person. I think might skew them.
For those of you for none of you that saw that. For people listening, because I've listened to this podcast in the car just to see how it sounds. This is from Penachunk. I don't know how the fuck to pronounce that. Anyway, brewing company, and it's their Pompier. It's English style barley wine aged in oak whiskey casks, finished with French Stresselspalt hops and something else. Don't know, but it's made with champagne yeast. Basically, they say it's an English style barley wine with a French twist. So for people who are not watching the video, that's the bottle you cannot see. Me holding
and when he says an English barley wine with a French twist, basically the beer is a French twist with a dash of English barley wine. That's basically what that beer was. So
the French twist without a English barley wine. It was one of the first beers I don't like it at all.
I know, I can tell. Yeah. But you didn't want to hurt Brad's feelings, so you had to.
I did. So I slinked away and just dumped it out upstairs instead of in the sink down here.
Oh, you sly dog, you.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. I think I'm going to call quits for tonight, man, because it's 10:30 and I want to spend some quality time before I actually pass out. So it's late and I want to go to bed. I think we covered all the topics.
Fair enough. I think we did it to one degree or another.
Yeah. So hopefully, you guys enjoyed the episode. A little bit of late in Monday action because I was moving. If you saw us and you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and rate and all that fun stuff. Rate on iTunes, 5 stars, all that fun stuff. In iTunes, speaking of, if you like this, but you like it in a more audio format, which I'm actually a bigger fan of than the actual video, that's how I like to watch with my ears. What's that called? Listening? Yeah.
Watching with your ears.
Yeah, watching with my ears, baby. You can check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. I Love Beer podcast.
It's not I Love Beer podcast. It's just Love Beer podcast. Matt is
Love Beer Radio. I'm so tired,
Love
dude.
Beer Radio.
I wish I was drunk and I could blame it on being drunk, but I'm so tired. I have no idea what's going on. Love Beer Radio. There you go. So if you want to check me or Joe out, you can check me out. Massive Beers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Untapped, and YouTubes. How about you, Joe?
You kind of did like this weird audio jump to like.
That was on your end, maybe. I don't know if it was my end.
Probably on my end.
Go ahead.
You can find me on nepabeerreviews.squarespace.com. Also, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at NEPA Beer Reviews.
There you go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully tune in next time and hopefully something or other. And I don't know what I'm talking about. So cheers.
Yeah.